Welcome. So it's been a couple of days since I made a recording, since I had a conversation here on YouTube, and I realized that these are conversations that I'm not comfortable having when there are other people in the house. So basically I'm having to wait until the work days to sit down and really focus and be present with this conversation that I'm having as an ongoing project. And it's good to know that, and it's also a challenge to then sort of insert recording opportunities into my day based more on other people's schedule and less on when I feel that momentum build and that creativity available and that, okay, now I'm going to make a video excitement. It's like, okay, well, this is the opportunity. Am I going to take it? Probably I should take it. Plus, as a spoonie, there's sort of that challenge of, well, how does my hair look today? Can you tell how long it's been since I've showered? Cleanliness is actually very important to me, and my hair is one of the few things that I still can style a little bit, or, at least get a haircut. I'm not able to wear makeup. I'm not able to do a lot of the things that are part of most women's sort of daily process for presenting themselves to the world. And so the days that I'm not able to even do the basics makes it kind of difficult to really want to put myself on YouTube in this forever reminder of what I looked like that day. And also, as a spoonie, showers are just exhausting. They are. It's one of those points where anytime you get a group of people with chronic health challenges together, you all say, oh my gosh, showers. And everybody says, oh my gosh, showers. And we all understand because you're standing for a long time and you have to have your arms up above your head, and the stretching and the movement and the standing and all of that together is exhausting for 5 minutes, let alone however long it takes to actually get clean and wash your hair and do all those things that are part of the self-grooming process for cleanliness, for presenting yourself to the world. And then afterwards, there's probably, at least for me, my skin is extremely sensitive, so I have an entire regimen of what I have to do after I shower every time. And if you do put on makeup or you do style your hair, all of those pieces, they take spoons, they take energy, and that does not, it's just, it's not worth it every day. It's not worth it every day, but I still would like to be presentable every day or every video, and so I'm learning to not lead as much with my ego and focus more on the goal, which is to have 99 videos to practice, to really put myself out there and say whatever it is I have to say in that moment or on that vlog entry, and be part of this conversation, which means showing up. And I really had thought a lot in the beginning about what I would vlog about, and I'm pretty excited to be heading more towards the intuitive side of my reality. But in the beginning, what I thought about was the spoonie side of my reality, which, in a funny way, they're the same thing, because all of my sensitivities grew together. So as my skin became sensitive to chemicals and toxins and dust and food and everything under the sun, my sixth sense, my 56th sense, my 12th sense, whatever that is, my ability to be picking up other information and other awarenesses besides, oh, that hurts, or oh, that's rough, or oh, look, my hand is breaking out again, those sorts of things. I really hope this is recording because I can't see it on the screen right now. I'm not flipping you off. I am showing you my little tiny rash that tends to get all over if I'm not really careful. And I totally lost what I was saying. Oh, well. Sensitivities. So anyway, as those sensitivities grew, you know, the sensitivities that I appreciate and value also grew. And I want to be grateful for that benefit. I want to see the silver lining and put energy into that. So right now, I just had what for me was an incredibly busy weekend, and I'm pretty tired. And I also want to keep making these videos. So instead of excusing myself from just sitting on here for a few minutes and saying hi, I thought, you know, I'm not going to worry about the fact that I haven't showered yet. I'm not going to worry about the fact that my hair's doing this funky thing. I'm not going to worry about how tired I am or if my brain is tracking. I'm just going to show up. And I'm really happy that I'm showing up. And I'm really happy that you're showing up. And in the spirit of hopefully kind of catching up a little bit on the days that I've missed, I might even check in again later today after I've had a chance to cross off a couple other things on my list. Today, my list includes petting all the meow meows. There's Spasmo keeping me company, as he does. You're such a good boy. And also, when I first came to live in this house, I was really excited. A friend of mine who owns an auction house on the cheap gave me a really big, beautiful Asian-style armoire, used Asian-style armoire, and I have always wanted a big, giant standing armoire for all of my clothing and cool little nooks and crannies to store stuff, and was so excited about it. And with using it for the last couple of years, what I've discovered is that the only places that for me really make sense to store my clothing are up at shoulder height or higher, and I can't reach the top level when I need to add clean clothes, and I can't really pull anything out without having stuff fall down on me, and it's a two-hand job to grab clothing out of there, and it's exhausting. And some of the drawers smell like some chemical, some sort of, you know, I'm sure it was an air purifier or a bug deterrent or whatever it was that they put on their clothing or in that drawer, and I can't stand it, so that's basically useless, wasted space for me. And the drawers on the bottom are big and useful, but I don't look inside drawers. I don't. I need shelving. I'm very visual that way, and especially on a brain fog day, I need stuff to just be visible and be there for me so that I know what I have and I know how to get to it, and it's easy. And so those drawers have become sort of the long-term storage spaces. Plus, if you have cats or dogs or animals, you understand that they want to be doing what you're doing. So if I bend down to open a drawer that's at floor level, usually there's 2 or 3 cats sitting in front of that drawer that I have to like shove out of the way while I'm opening the drawer, and everybody gets offended. And really there's no good place to put my shoes, so my shoes are in front of all of this, that I'm having to stand on my shoes and trip over my shoes, and there's a cat scratcher there, and it's not a setup that works for the life that I have. It's a setup that's beautiful. And it's nice to have the doors, because then the cats cannot nest in my clothing. But that's about it. And so, you know, this house, it's a work in progress. It was abandoned for many years over the course of its lifetime, and so this room is really lovely and mostly finished and quite usable. But most of the other rooms are not quite there yet, and so as soon as there's an empty space that's finished, the armoire will go there, wherever that is, and be used for general house storage instead of for me. And I've been looking at what I'm going to put on that wall for my clothing. And what I've come up with is that I like shelves and I like wood, but it's more expensive and it's harder to protect from cats and that sort of thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting really tired. You're probably seeing me fade here. But it may not be the best solution for the situation that I actually have. And so what I've gone to is these kind of fabric cubbies that you hang. And normally you hang them in your closet from your clothes hanger dowel. But this isn't a place for a clothes hanger. This is just a wall in the bedroom. The closets are full of other stuff that's storage, so I don't actually have any clothing in my closets. And I found some hooks that actually extend a little further out from the wall than your average little hook, and so I think it will actually work to find a stud in the wall, put this extend a hook into the stud so it's nice and heavy duty and sturdy, and then hang some of those hanging fabric shelf cubby things and stuff them full of clothing. And I actually had one of those, I still do, shelf cubby things. And what I discovered at the time was that if you don't have some sort of flat, solid thing in each shelf to begin with, you end up stretching the shelves way out of shape and they become these kind of buckets into each other, and it's not very functional. And so now where I'm at, there is this beautiful cotton canvas version, you know, natural colors, very, very restful, and it has actually got cedar plank inserts as the base of each shelf so that they cannot be stretched out of shape and so that they will keep the moths and the bugs out of your clothing and keep your clothing safe and fresh and that sort of thing. But it's like $70 for 6 little cubbies, you know. And then there's like the cheap cotton canvas version that you can buy from Amazon for like $10, $15. And then there are all of the polyesterine, nylon, I don't even know what the stuff is made out of, kind of plastic versions that have cardboard in the shelves to keep them flat. And those again are like, you know, $20. And so part of me is saying, well, you know, at that rate, couldn't I just make what I want for myself? And part of me is saying, I should probably just buy the cheap thing that's already done, that it wouldn't exhaust me to have. It's cotton, you know, it'd be fine. And part of me is saying, why don't I buy the thing that I really love, that would be exactly what I want, that would already be ready? And yes, it costs more, but probably I would use it for, you know, decades, and $70 for a storage unit that actually makes me happy to have it, you know, that's part of what I'm moving towards. So it's interesting to be sitting with all of this, and I have time. There's no place for there are more to go right now, so I have time to make these decisions, thank goodness. But when you start thinking about long-term goals and you look at those goals in relation to your life values, and I call it your life way values, it really changes the things that you're weighing when you're looking at what you're going to put your money into, what you're going to put your energy into. Because it's not the quick fix, it's not the cheapest fix, but it's also not the most expensive thing out there because it's the coolest, most awesomest version. That's really not what my decision making is about either. What I care about is living gently with the earth, having a light footprint, having things around me that I love, that are beautiful, and that are extremely functional. And if they don't fit both of those, or at least 2 of those categories, then they really don't belong in my life. And there's always going to be 1 or 2 things that I would say, I guess the other category is low impact. So beautiful, functional, low impact, something that I love. Those would be my 4 categories, and I need everything I own to fit into at least 2 of those. So, always I will have to keep records of my back taxes. Always I will have to keep the vet records. Always, there are ugly things that I don't enjoy that I must keep, but I can keep them at a minimum in a functional way that is beautiful. And there we go, 2 of my 3 right there with my 4 values. And when I'm looking long term, what I'm looking at is I live in a small amount of space in a giant house right now. And my goal is to have a tiny studio in the backyard of this space. And to have that studio be primarily off-grid. And really, in my dream version, it will be on wheels. It will be something that is lightweight enough. Oh, I haven't fed the crows yet. They've come to visit and tell me that there is no food. So I better finish this video quickly. Anyway, a lightweight version that a regular, SUV or truck that I or a friend own could actually pull from place to place if necessary. I don't plan on moving it very much, if at all, but I want the option to be there because I don't really want to build my dream home more than once. And this would be something that would serve a lot of functions. I think the majority of what it would do is give me a space that was really a sacred space to do my craft, to do my art, to do my videos and coaching, but also a space that was chemical-free. This house is being remodeled regularly, and unless you are extremely rich, you cannot afford to do chemical-free building in a regular home. It's just so expensive. So we do what we can, but there are compromises, and it would be nice if I didn't have to leave town and go stay with somebody else in order to be safe from the chemicals for the first few hours or first few days that they are doing the worst of their off-gassing during the remodel, little bits here and there. And it would be mold-free. Oh my gosh, that would be so exciting. So anyway, there are these functions that it would have, but beyond that, I recognize that America's infrastructure is aging, and so our electrical grid is aging and having problems. Our water lines are aging and having problems. Our septic, our sewers, and as climate disasters multiply, as the storms get worse, as the weather gets more unpredictable, having a small space that really doesn't have a big draw on the environment means a lot to me. I want to have a gentle footprint on the earth, but I also want to have a space that is secure, that provides for my basic needs and the basic needs of my household for months at a time if necessary. We live in earthquake country. We live near volcanoes. There have started to be things like tornadoes in my area and hurricanes and gale force winds and all of these things. Snowstorms, months of really cold weather, months of really hot weather. All of these things that the house that I live in is a beautiful house. It has great bones. It's on a lovely little piece of land, but most of the windows are still single pane. There is no way to close off a small section of the house to just heat that. There is no real way to store food or water for an extended period of time. There's not an alternative heat source. We are very dependent on the electricity and the gas for heat, for all of these, for cooking. And so I want a very small, simple retreat that that gives me the security that I need no matter what the future holds, so that I can face that with confidence and with love and with compassion and with respect for all that the earth has already given me. And so when I think about even something as simple as how I'm going to put my clothing, store my clothing in the bedroom that I have right now in this giant house, I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking about what would transfer the most effectively into the tiny space that I want to have in the near future. I'm looking at, I don't want to waste. I don't have money to waste. I don't have energy to waste. And I don't really want to be wasting space either. And so all of these thoughts are kind of, swirling around, and I'm sitting with them as I'm looking at what are my options once this giant, ridiculously heavy, not particularly functional, but pretty armoire goes away. And it's very interesting to sit with that, because I had dreamed of having a giant, beautiful, heavyweight armoire for so long. And it was so exciting to have that dream come true. But then it makes me look at, well, what other dreams have I been holding on to? Why am I holding on to them? Are they dreams that are really worth the energy that I am still, or have in the past, put into them? Because really, I think my priorities have changed, and what I find beautiful and functional has changed, because I'm simplifying. Even if I'm not actively living smaller yet, even if I still have all of this stuff around me, my understanding of what's functional for me is getting very simple, and I keep a list of what that potentially could look like in that tiny space down the road, even if it's not what it looks like in this house at this time, because this is a very different space with very different functionality. So hey, introduction to my tiny studio, tiny house obsession, and my off-grid, well, not really off-grid. It seems like these days, especially in tiny house world, people say off-grid, and most of the time what they mean is I don't get my electricity from the plug in the wall. They don't really talk about where their water is coming from, where the propane is coming from, where the wood is coming from for their fireplaces, where their food is coming from. To be truly off-grid is to not rely on any of those socially, any of those structures that are there to support an entire community, and not just that you maintain yourself. Those are grids that provide that. Even if the grid is some giant propane company digging into the ground and creating earthquakes in Kansas, and all of the roads and the trucks that bring the propane to all of the holding tanks at all of the gas stations around the country that hold on to it until you need a refill of your little 5-gallon propane tank that was probably itself manufactured in some other country out of steel that we don't really have access to locally. And all of those pieces, those are grids, those are systems. And it's not necessarily wrong to utilize them, especially if you're utilizing them in very small quantities so that you don't have to use all of these other resources in large quantities. But it's not really off-grid. It's just not tied in with a plug and a pipe and a drain and all of that stuff. And so when I talk about tiny, I want something like, probably I want my sewing machine out there, and I might try out, what are those things called? One of those does everything in one place pots that you plug in, that are so popular right now that you can pressure cook and slow cook and steam and all that stuff. Anyway, I will probably need a plug for some of those utility items, and a washing machine, a really tiny one, to wash my little art quilts. But for the most part, I'd like it to be self-contained, and certainly in an emergency situation, have the option to be completely self-contained at a very basic level. I'm going to get myself a tiny wood stove, one of those cubic mini wood stoves. Oh my gosh, I love those. stock up on pressed wood, have a water tank somewhere, a cistern of some kind, be prepared for rainwater collection, all of that good stuff, just in case. And because the more I learn and get comfortable with using reduced resources, the lighter my footprint will be on the earth, even if I'm still spending, even if I'm still living in this big giant house. So this has probably gotten much longer than I thought it would be, and I love that I found something that I wanted to share with you and talk with you about that is important to me. That was wonderful. So again, thanks for rambling along with me and participating in my 100-day project, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Be well.